Do you like your voice?
I hate it.
Hey! We're recording the podcast! Shut up!
Good morning to you, wherever you are, because it is Boys of Blair for May 10th, 1998. My name is Bernie Burns. Sitting right over there. She doesn't know if it's March or May. It's Ashley. How you doing, Ash?
Could be any time.
Anytime at all. So this is Follow-Up Friday. And yesterday on the podcast, when I did our completely professional intro, I said March 9th instead of May 9th, which threw people off because they were relying on me to convey accurate information in our place on the timeline. And the funny thing about that was I said March 9th. I knew something was wrong with the date, but my brain kept correcting it. This is why, as a writer, I can't at least, edit my own stuff, because when I see errors, like leaving out a word or something like that, my brain knows what it's reading and fills it in and corrects it for me.
Yeah, it's tough.
Makes it really hard for me to edit my own stuff. And so I was listening to it. I was like, no, I definitely said March 9th yesterday. So apologies if I set everyone back in time 2 months. Sorry about that.
I'm sorry that happened to you, or congratulations.
Yeah, hopefully you guys won that $1 billion lottery with my mistake. Cut me in on that, would you? Today is May 10th. It is, she has passed away, but today is my mother's birthday.
Happy birthday to
My
Mama
mother,
Burns.
let me think about this. 38. She was born in 1938. Sounds strange. My parents had me late. So when I talk about my parents' birth years, and especially my grandmother's birth year, it gets really weird. Like, I'm sitting here in 2024. My paternal grandmother was born in 1898.
That's a big span.
It's very strange. What's even stranger is I had a daughter in 2022. So now she will statistically live until past the year 2100. So all the way from 1898 through to 2100 in the course of like 3 or 4 generations. It's pretty wild.
That's pretty wild.
I will touch theoretically those points in time with people I know directly in my life, which feels very strange. So she was born in 38. So today she would have been 84 today. She would have been 84. Right? Am I doing that right?
This early in the morning, I'm not doing math. Don't ask me to math.
She would have been 90 years old in 2028.
I'll pull out the Barbie line. Math is hard.
So I'm a little bit off there. She would have been 86. She would have been 86. I don't know what I said before. Anyway, welcome to March, everybody.
So this is Follow-Up Friday. We have a couple of things to follow up on, things that we've previously discussed that have developed or that we have learned more about.
Or that we won't just want to gab a little bit more about.
Yeah, or that we're like, let's talk more.
Before we do that, usually we do Follow-Up Friday first. I want to talk about something, an incredible development that has taken place.
Go ahead.
They have announced now officially that the UK has left economic recession in the first quarter of 2024.
Well, that was quick.
And that the first quarter of 2024 was the biggest growth for GDP for the UK since 2021.
Bernie, what changed?
I'll tell you what changed. I'm glad you asked that. I'd like to think that a little podcast came out at the beginning of Q1 2024. Now, it might
what
sound
podcast
like
would that be?
It might sound like that I'm insinuating that our podcast is the sole reason that the UK economy is recovering. And it sounds like I'm insinuating that because that's exactly what I'm saying. That's clearly what has happened. Clearly. So if you're going to renew somebody's visa, I would recommend renewing the saviors of the UK economy. That's what I would recommend. I mean, I can't tell anyone how to do their job in the Department of Immigration or whatever the hell it's called, Ministry of Immigration.
Bernie, you could be in line for a knighthood.
Listen, if you want this empire to last a few more decades, you know where to place your money.
Back this podcast.
Also, is it a coincidence that the announcement came out when the most beloved web series of all time was available on digital? I don't think so. All right. So
speaking of the most beloved web series of all time being available on digital, we have talked a little bit about the release of Red vs. Blue on digital platforms throughout this week. Have we, Bernie, talked about if you link, however you choose to purchase the movie, if you link your account to Movies Anywhere,
which is kind of a platform that lives between other platforms. I never hear people talk about this service we rely so heavily on this service because we have Amazon movies and like Microsoft movies and bought it here, bought it there. Some of them, not all of them, allow linking through a service called Movies Anywhere. And then when you go on like your Xbox movies library, all of a sudden all your other stuff starts to show up there as well, which is really cool.
It's a way to unify your libraries.
It's one of these services, actually, I have no idea how they make any money. Like, how did they get approval from all the different streaming services to say, like, we'll just mush them all together? And then what do they get out of it, you know?
I don't know, because they would have costs involved, data costs, like the verification and encryption costs and all that, because linking your account is a risk that people would take, and so you want to ensure that they're doing it in a secure way, and there are costs involved with that. I don't know how they make money.
Sounds like a quagmire. You know, if they're based in the UK, they could be what caused the recession, if you think about it. Luckily, our podcast
Good thing
came
you
along.
saved them.
This ray of sunshine that you listen to every Monday through Friday, or sometimes on the weekend, you just bank them up. We all know who the savior is here, clearly.
And speaking of buying things on Amazon.
Wait a second. We didn't say what we do. If you link on Movies Anywhere.
Oh, right. Sorry.
If you link on Movies Anywhere, then all of a sudden the extra features start to show up. People are reporting this.
Yes.
And as far as I know, there's no fee for Movies Anywhere, right? It's just an account you sign up for, and then you can play your movies from anywhere. You can even play Helldivers, I think, if you link your account on there. So if you're interested in the director's commentary and the bonus scenes and the bloopers and all that stuff, that's one of the ways you can get it if it's not appearing in your digital version. Anyway, enough of this ad.
Yes. But speaking of buying things on Amazon, I woke up to the weirdest news this morning. I've been talking about wanting to go see Bureau of Ungentlemanly Warfare. It's the new movie that just hit theaters like a few weeks ago with Henry Cavill and Alan Richardson. So it's
handsomest men in the world.
Basically, the destruction of screens everywhere from being just too much handsome on screen at once.
We're biased, though.
We are a little bit biased. But you know what? It's still true. It's already out on Amazon, at least in the US. You can buy this movie and stream it on Amazon.
Aren't we past this discussion, though, of it's already on streaming? Like, is it going to streaming quickly? Is that necessarily
this is
a
like,
weird thing?
I mean, there was the short period of time during the pandemic when it was, I think HBO did quite a few day and date releases. And then they've all sort of walked that back. And I think one of the shortest windows now is I think it's Disney has been doing like a 2-month, maybe 2-month window. But this is a couple of weeks.
Is it really, though? Because they haven't been on the charts. Were we talking about them when we were talking about Civil War? I think we were. I think they debuted at the same time as Civil War.
Its release date was April 19th.
And Civil War was the week before. So we were talking about Civil War in its, this is from memory here, but we were talking about Civil War in its second week was number 1 at $11 million. And I think Gentlemanly Warfare debuted that same week at number 4.
But this is 3 weeks.
If my memory, I got my tool right here. I can look this up. If memory serves as well, they had the highest per screen average as well. Gentlemanly Warfare did.
But it's crazy.
Hey,
to me.
what are you upset
Think
about?
it, though.
You didn't go support it in the theaters.
I know.
You're getting
and
exactly what you want.
I know, but it's, and we talked about this the other day with the Fall Guy, right? Like, it's not doing great in theaters, and it's like, why? But then you look at timelines like this, and why would you go to a theater? You're like, if I can hold out for 3 whole weeks, it'll probably be on Amazon. That's insane.
But some people like the theater experience. Like, don't you agree there are some movies you want to see in the theater? Like, why would you go see something in an IMAX when it's got to drive across town to go see it, when you could go see it at the local Cineplex right next to you? You go there because of the experience.
The one with the sticky soda floors?
Okay, so just looking up here, walking down memory lane, I'm back in the April 19th to April 25th, the 16th week of the domestic box office in the year of our Lord, 2024. Number 1 that week was Civil War with $15 million. And then number 4 that week, in week 1, was Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare at $11 million. So those sound to me like the updated numbers from the initial ones we had. But yeah, memory served correctly for the most part. It debuted at number 4. It's box office stuff, so it starts on a Friday. Let me see exactly when that is. Yeah, the April 19th was a Friday through the following Thursday, April 25th.
Got it.
Your standard financial week in the world, right? There you go. All right, while we're talking about movies, dropped today was renowned actor John Malkovich He has now been cast in the new Fantastic Four movie in an undisclosed part.
I was going to say, do we know the rules? So the answer is no, we do not yet.
In an undisclosed part, they did disclose a character, another actor was cast in another role that they did disclose what it was, but it reveals, I think, a character that's going to be in the movie, so I will not talk about it. But if you go look at our link dump, buyer beware, it will have that information in that article. Another person that was cast in the MCU in an undisclosed role is Giancarlo Esposito.
What's his name?
Esposito from Italia, New York.
Oh, NRC, stop playing with them, damn.
I'm really excited about that. We're big fans of his, going all the way back to Breaking Bad, but he has been in movies since I was a teenager, all the way back to Do the Right Thing by Spike Lee in the late 80s.
I feel like he has really hit mainstream lately. Maybe it was via Breaking Bad, but he's been in so many of the things that I watched lately. He was in Mandalorian. He was in The Gentleman. He's in this upcoming Fantastic Four film. What else could he possibly be in?
So this is an interesting stat. This is from an article by Looper, by Mike Bedard. He said, Esposito said that for a while, Esposito fought to play Professor X in the MCU, a role previously portrayed by Patrick Stewart and James McAvoy in the 20th Century Fox films X-Men. The actor said at the panel that he wouldn't be playing Charles Xavier, but it would be, quote, better than you can imagine. Another interesting tidbit came when Esposito told the crowd that they would see this role sooner rather than later. And this is all from a panel at the fan convention CCXP.
Okay, and is it Fantastic Four he's been cast in or just the MCU?
All it says here is the MCU, and it doesn't say what he's cast in. But sooner rather than later might
mean
imply.
Deadpool.
Oh, that's interesting. That would be Deadpool would be first out of the gate. It could mean a lot of different things. It could mean Fantastic Four. It could mean Secret Wars as well. So
that's true.
Even though those aren't really sooner. Those other ones.
You know what, though? He, as an actor, has the most versatile charisma where he's charming and compelling and also can be really menacing all at once. And
Giancarlo Esposito from Italia, New York.
Love him. Can't wait to see him in the MCU.
Yeah,
so,
no, that'll be fun.
Looking forward to that. While we're talking about other things from the week, following up upon the community manager Spitz from Helldivers has been reportedly, allegedly, either demoted or let go. It's not entirely clear what happened or what took place or what the status of Spitz's employment is, but that's kind of normal in a professional environment.
Yeah, so this is following the dust up between Sony and fans of Helldiver 2 who did not want to be suddenly linking PSN accounts in order to continue playing the game.
And as far as we can tell from everything we've read about it, the community manager Spitz, probably not their real name, the reason why that they are no longer community manager for Helldivers, according to everyone and everything we've read online, is because of specifically a series of tweets, which included one that said, first of all, pointed the fingers at gamers and saying, if it's too much effort for you to go through and sign up for a PSN account, then yeah, go ahead and review bomb this game and ask for refunds. So it's the combination of saying it was too much for gamers and they were complaining too much, and then also review bomb and ask for a refund, which is something I think would be looked down upon by the people who employ you.
It is kind of that weird comment to make in that it sort of bit everybody.
I looked at some of the Reddit comments and I was expecting there to be some of the articles I read said there's tons of petitions to win their position back. And the gamers are rallying around them. Everything I read on Reddit was like, nah. Yeah,
well, there are probably going to be some ongoing consequences as the dust settles from this whole thing. I know that after Sony dropped the PSN requirement, people didn't exactly go back and change all of their ratings on Steam back to positive.
What's it at now? Do you know?
Right now, it is the all reviews is still mostly positive. The recent reviews remains mixed. It has, if you look at the chart, gone back, swung back in the positive. But there's still a lot of...
Mixed means, if I recall correctly, less than 70% of the people have reviewed it positively?
Yeah, in this case, it's like 69% of reviews are positive. So I'm sure it will swing back eventually, but it hasn't yet.
Well, one of the problems with it is, as far as I understand, you can only review a game when you're the owner of the game on Steam, right?
As far as I know, yeah.
Amazon's really funny. I don't know if I've talked about this before. UK Amazon reviews are absolutely hilarious because when you're looking at a product on Amazon, there's a question. You don't have to be a verified buyer to review products on Amazon, unfortunately. It will call out when you are. But there's a question and answer section of every product. You probably have seen it before if you've ever shopped on Amazon.
Yeah, and they'll be like, how many feet does this have?
And the weirdest thing in the UK, I don't know if it's a polite society or what, there are people who constantly answer the questions who don't have the information. They say, like, how many feet long is the extension cord? And someone will write, I don't know, I didn't buy this. And it's like, why did you answer the question? What purpose was this? What did this serve for you to type this out? I don't know, I didn't buy this model. I don't know. I've never tried that feature. You see it all the time. I'll have to maybe take some screenshots of some of these. They're just absolutely hilarious.
There's got to be some weird reason for it, but why? I guess some people just see the box and they go and they have to fill in the box.
Right. I have to every time they go on
rude not to.
Facebook, do they literally write what's on their mind? Like every time they see that box, are they like, I have to fill this in?
Like, oh no, I'm in a terrible mood, but it did ask.
Oh, but on Steam, yeah, I don't think that you can review it if you don't own it, which then if they ask for a refund, they do the negative. They ask for a refund, they get the refund. Now I think there's going to be a lot of people that can't change their review back to positive.
Ooh, yeah, that's a tricky one, isn't it?
They're locked out, as it were. I mean, they could buy the game if they really do feel positively about the game now because of the change or the backtrack. But let's be honest, probably won't happen. Probably won't happen. So watch out, UK economy. Helldivers is coming for you.
A couple more quick follow-ups. We've talked not from this week, but previously about the first human Neuralink patient. They're now reporting that it's having a couple of issues with some of the, I guess there's like these little wire thread things that go in the brain to interface with, I don't know, the electrical signals or something. It sounds really wild.
That sentence gets worse the more words you say. Yeah.
And it's having some issues. Some of the wires have become disconnected or retracted or something, so which has reduced its sensitivity, and they're basically gone in remotely to bump up the sensitivity of everything else to try to keep it working. But again, this is the first of its case. I'd be shocked if there weren't issues of some kind. It doesn't seem like it's a safety thing so much at this point, but it is pretty crazy that there's a dude walking around with wires coming disconnected in his brain.
I mean, we talk about it like it's really bizarre, but is it really that bizarre? Because when I think about like cochlear implants or even a pacemaker, which has been around for decades, I mean, that's a device that's in you and has a wire that goes to something that's important to your body.
Yeah,
you know?
I guess we're just wired to be so protective of our brains.
Right, our brains. Like our brain is our, it's us.
Without our brain, what else we got?
Everything else protects us. The brain invents all these things to protect itself, and now it's inventing things to augment itself, which is interesting. There's that old shower thought of like the brain is the only thing that named itself. It's just you can fall down a rabbit hole thinking about that and the concept of self and everything else. I knew somebody a long time ago who had chronic pain, and they had a device that was put into their body, like in their upper back, and then like electrodes connected to their spinal column. So it was essentially like one of those electrode TENS machines that deliver shocks.
Those. Yeah.
And they could turn it up and down through their skin with a magnet. And it was during a big push for digital medicine, and this was going to be the forefront of everything. That was like 20 years ago, and I really haven't heard much about things since then. Yeah, it's wild. You're wide-eyed looking at me. But
oh, that seems pretty crazy. Yeah. I mean, I'm familiar with TENS machines. They're used a lot now in labor for women who are trying to go without like epidurals and stuff.
Yeah, you just like bring on the drugs.
Just shock yourself instead.
Yeah. But they ran into an interesting problem too, because after a while I said, you've got this thing in you and you're not really using it anymore because it wasn't that effective. I said, you're going to get this thing taken out? And their response was, oh, that doctor doesn't do that anymore, which is an interesting thing to think about. Like what happens when a company goes out of business that is providing these things, then what happens to it?
That has happened before. I'm trying to look this up right now, but there was a weird story about someone who had if I recall correctly, they were bionic eyes, basically. Like they're like eye implants.
Another thing I'm very protective of and don't want to put stuff into, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But she was blind, had bionic eyes. The company shut down. The eyes stopped working.
Yeah. Wait. So they were like, once the company shut down, the eyes were turned off, essentially, or eventually they malfunctioned and they couldn't repair them.
So I'm trying to find this exact article and make sure I'm not like collating a couple of different things, because either way it's terrifying.
The way you said that was like, the cloud service that my eyes connect to is now offline and I can't use my eyes anymore. That's the way that sounded.
Oh, well, here's a story from Science Friday.
Yikes!
We will link the full thing in the link dump, but it is terrifying. It is about a lady in New York. She had a high-tech implant in her left eye that gave her kind of a bionic vision that was compensating for a genetic disease that had rendered her blind. And it was her implant. And then her world went dark again. It was her implant just powering down. They abandoned the technology, and her eyes stopped working.
By the way, that leads into my last follow-up Friday very well, which is we were talking about the FTX collapse and now the judgment where up to 90% of the investors will get 118% of their money back. Went and did further research on it. I want to say a particularly gracious shout out to Jude458 on our subreddit, who posted an exhaustive link to a Bloomberg article, which unfortunately it's by Matt Levine. He is behind a paywall, so I don't want to read the whole thing. But essentially it says, cryptocurrency exchange FTX has amassed billions of dollars, more than it needs to cover what customers lost in its November 22 collapse, setting them up to receive full recoveries plus interest, a rare outcome in U.S. bankruptcy proceedings. Lower-ranking creditors typically receive just pennies on the dollar for their holdings, but FTX benefited from a strong rally in cryptocurrencies, including Solana, a token heavily backed by convicted fraudster and FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried. The company has also sold dozens of other assets, including various venture capital projects like a stake in the artificial intelligence company Anthropic. That's the kind of the lead into this story. There's a very long story on Bloomberg by Matt Levine about that. If you want to deep dive, we will link it in the link dump. We find Bloomberg to be our favorite source for most financial news, right, Ash?
Yeah, they do a nice newsletter as well.
But it's like we were saying early on, if Bankman-Fried had been able to hold on, he would have been a hero and he wouldn't be in prison. And this is a weird situation where if everyone's going to get their money back, the comeuppance for this is one guy's in jail, everyone else is made whole, hopefully, at least getting their principal back. Then what happens? Like, he's still in jail for committing fraud, but then where's the crime on paper?
He still did the fraud.
He did.
You can't just rob the bank and then be like, oh, here's the money. And they go, all right, well, don't do it again, but off you go.
I get that. At the same time, I do predict that in the future, the fact that if everyone is made whole by this cryptocurrency rally, I predict that his sentence will be greatly lessened by the fact that this happened.
If I was him, I would petition for a reduced sentence on this basis.
Right.
Like, the injured people are not injured anymore. So let's give me a break. In fact,
it's like I shot at the guy, but I missed. Like that kind of thing. It is weird.
The Theranos lady, Elizabeth Holmes, she just got her sentence reduced again.
Oh, did she?
So
did she really?
It's not out of out of the bounds of reality to assume that he might get his reduced.
Did I hear correctly? Did she drop her deep voice after she was in court? That it was like really an affectation, the deep voice that she was using for all of her announcements?
I don't know, but I wouldn't.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do not know. There have been a couple of, I think, like movies and like biopics about her. I just have no interest.
Yeah, she was renowned for whenever she did an announcement, she had a really heavy bass, like deep voice whenever she spoke. Imagine if she got Neuralink.
And she'd sound like this.
Just get the wires pulled out of her brain. All right, so that does it for us. Anything else for Follow-Up Friday? I want to take umbrage. Umbrage. People were accusing me of mispronouncing the word spelled G-A-L-A.
Gala?
Which I guess some people pronounce as gala, and I was saying the Met Gala. And I looked it up. You can pronounce it either way, and most people pronounce it gala. So get out of here with you. You can't correct everything. Not everything is up for debate.
I'm going to make an animated GIF of that, Bernie.
Well, yeah, listen. We are infallible here. We didn't get to March 2024 by being idiots here, people.
Okay, well, on that note, I would like to thank our sponsors for today, Tara and Oliver Collins. Thank you both for sponsoring this episode of Morning Somewhere by the smartest people on the planet.
That's right. Personally saving the UK economy. All right, well, that does it for us this week. We will be back on Monday to talk to you. We hope you will be here as well.
Bye, everybody.